Tulimu turungana. Thank you, tunaweza simamia hapo.
Lakini sasa tutatoka mwimbe moja ya watoto. Ile ya ile head shoulder. Acha nione. Head shoulders knees and toes. Acha nione. Head shoulders knees and toes. Now everybody can join. I've seen someone in bed. You know, the thing is about being someone from the back end. You see everyone. I've seen someone who was in bed. So let's all switch on our cameras and let's stand up to see who is going to do head, shoulder, knees, and toes the best.
Okay.
Nairobi team, I can't see you. Like, I can't still see you. Let me see.
So we all switch on our cameras?
Let's all switch on our cameras.
Okay. But how will you see me now? So I just stand. Okay. I can hold my laptop.
Yes.
All right, Jenny, what do you need us to do?
And to go head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes. I can't see people. Head, knees and toes. I can't see people. Head, shoulders. And you have big head, shoulder, knees, and toes. Marlene, I can't see you. See head, shoulders, knees. Nareda, I can't see you. Nose, eyes, and mouth. Never between are seated. Gosh. Head.
No, they should stand up.
Knees and toes. Knees and toes. Sharon, you're looking at me seriously. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Ears, eyes, nose, and Caroline, I know you. Please switch on your camera. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and I can't see guys. Knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes. Knees and toes. Knees and toes. Knees and toes. There is no way knees can be a heady. Knees and toes. Knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, ears, eyes, nose, and mouth. Yay! Let's all clap our hands. I hope I've seen the guys who have not switched on their cameras. I can see you guys. You're just looking at me and saying, I will switch on this camera when Jennifer stops talking. So back to you, Mildred.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. And I still ask the Migori people, I'll have to go back to hear that worship song again. So welcome to this afternoon session. And I know we still had pending questions and contributions coming from the floor. I loved the interactions on the chat boxes. We have a very minimal time this afternoon, but even though we have minimal time, we are hoping we are able to still cover what we need to cover. I'm going to call upon Masharia Karanja of Youth Anti-FGM Network Kenya and George Ndungu of World Vision to please prepare. Masharia Karanja, do you have a presentation? And George Ndungu? Peter Masharia, there you are. Do you have a presentation? Okay, you are unmute. Unmute yourself. Welcome, Masharia. So you'll talk through it?
Yes, I'll talk through it.
All right, welcome, Masharia.
Thank you very much. Jenny, that was a very good energizer, though I'm a culprit. My video was off. Basically, I will basically speak into youth inclusion, and I think it's very important that we realize that one of the greatest intervention towards ending FGM and child marriage is working with the young people. And listening to the first presentations, and more so on Dr. Powell, when she was talking about Pathway to Zero. So as a Youth Anti-FGM Network, which is a network of youth-led organization and individual who are young people, who came together towards ending FGM. And one of the greatest focus for us is movement building, and basically looking at how do we bring young people together towards ending FGM and child marriage. And we managed to do this by making sure that one, we do establish county chapters where young people can be on the forefront in advocating for local issues, and which is also very important that it is led by the young people themselves. And speaking on movement building, we've also realized that there's a cadre of young people who are very critical towards ending FGM and child marriage. And as a network, we have decided to scale our strengthening of the movement by making sure that we also work with the university students associations. And here we are trying to work with the student leaders towards coming together. We basically know that every year there's a lot of political attention towards supporting these student associations. So for us, I think it is very critical that we also work with them. And since they also at the universities, they can also try to champion ending towards child marriage by also engaging these political leaders. As much as they want to support them, they can also support them in ending FGM and child marriages, and also making sure that they support their programs on the ground. And another focus for us as a youth network is to making sure that we have these young people and we recruit them as agents of change within the communities, because this is also very important. If we have young activists who are on the forefront, they live in these communities, then once you get their buy-in, it will also be very important towards ending FGM. We will not have made any successes without making special recognition to some of I think the government. This is through the gender department, and I think Lina Chebi Kilimo was rightly to say that she's been part of us when it comes to establishing these chapters. We've worked very well with the Rachel Shebes before Lina Chebi came in. We've worked very well with the anti-FGM board for supporting us, and also donor partners like UNFPA, and I'm happy to say also UNICEF are also coming on board to make sure that we reach many counties from the 22 hotspot counties. For those where we've not managed to launch, they can be able to support us towards ending FGM and child marriages. Having said that, it is very important that when it comes to young people, we need to have a lot of inclusivity. Their participation should not be viewed as tokenistic. It has to be a whole package. Young people have to be involved both at the governance level and at the programming level, because I think it's very important that if we are going to have young people at key decision-making bodies, like for example, if it's the anti-FGM board or any other parastatal, young people who are going to be there as policymakers, they will help to shape the direction of how putting the girl at the center of each and every program is going to be very important. Programming, we don't want just young people to be involved when it comes to implementing, because we know in most cases, people will always want to bring young people at the implementation stage. The era of looking at young people as very rebellious, it is long gone. I think so many people are now appreciating the fact that young people are very crucial towards coming up with solutions that face themselves. And one of the greatest challenges that we also face is how do we get the hard to reach young people who are basically the most people who are affected. And we believe that these young people who are champions are going to be able to reach there. The other challenge that young people face, we all know, I think Honorable Kilimo was talking about supporting local women group or youth group to come up with CBOs. As a network, we already have most of these young people who have come up and formed CBOs. They are CEOs and they are founders of different organizations within the community. So I think the greatest challenge is how do we assist them into making sure that we have institutional strengthening within these CBOs by making sure that they come up with good structures. And I think the other thing is capacity building on advocacy, because we want to believe that we also have a lot of work to be done within the local county levels, rather. They get a lot of capacity when it comes to fundraising, because it's not only about money, but how do they also try to look at how the limited resources are there and how do they think out of the box. Someone was saying the other day that we now have to look at the triangle. How do we put ourselves at the apex towards ending child marriage and FGM? Young people have a lot of innovation, and we always call for youth-adult partnership. The young people have the energy and they have the innovation. The adults or the wazers have the wisdom. So if you're going to team up together, then we're going to propel towards ending child marriage and FGM. I would like to finish by indicating that as young people, you're the generation that undertakes tradition, but questions it. The generation before us knows no question, but the generation after us knows no tradition. So we know traditions are there, we will question harmful practices. Because at the end of the day, if it harms the young girl, then we need to question it, and it needs to end so that we can support the agenda of the president towards ending FGM in 2022. And that is our pathway towards having a zero tolerance towards child marriage and FGM. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Masharia. I absolutely appreciate your presentation. Excited that as young people, and even getting the young people in the universities to be interested with these issues. I know it's not an easy thing, but as they say, I like that you say we have to make correlations between generations, because like they say in our African traditions, the youth walk faster, but the older people know the way. So there has to be interconnectedness into how we approach it. But I really appreciate that. Very critical points to pull across for the youth to own their own voice and authenticity in pursuing these issues. And then, so just before, again, we open up, may I hear from George Ndongo of World Vision, who wants to actually break down briefly how we can include religious leaders in pursuit of the work that we are doing. George Ndongo, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Good after
Welcome.
lunch.
Good after lunch. Welcome, George.
Thank you. Sorry, I joined a bit late when my friend Dr. Matanda was presenting. I had another commitment I had. I have a presentation, but I'm just going to walk us through it.
Right.
Yeah, briefly though. So why is it critical for us to think about engagement of religious leaders as World Vision? We had to reflect on these questions. And this question was answered by 4 areas. One is that as Africans, we are very religious. And okay. You want to see my face? All right. There you go.
I knew it. I knew you must be somewhere in the Bahamas.
Definitely. I'm hanging.
Welcome, George. Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. So, so as religious leaders, religious leaders are very critical, and they are a part of the society. That's one. And African societies, you are very religious. So, engaging religious community means that we will be tapping into our conscience as African community. The thing that we reflected upon is that religion is in the community. The thing is that religion has influence in the society and has a voice and is respected. So those anchored our reflection on the reason and rationale as to why we should engage religious leaders. Now, what are the capacities? You know, we then ask ourselves, then where do we start from? We realize that we need to build the capacity of religious leaders. And this one, World Vision developed a training manual called Channels of Hope. And these Channels of Hope is in 2 areas. We have Channels of Hope Gender and Channels of Hope Culture. Now, this is just a model that integrates religion or religious perspective with social norms change, such that the religious leaders can really come to understand the kind of ills and negative social norms that are going on in the community and appreciate that and be able to take action towards that. Then we also have another model called the psychological first aid that we were supported to develop by UNFPA. And this PFA, psychological first aid, is just a manual that helps us to build the capacity of religious leaders so that they can be able to flag out and address issues relating to psychology of the community. And this happens sometimes when a child probably is about to get married or is about to go through FGM and the child does not want. There's a lot of pressure. Maybe one parent wants, the other one does not want. So there's a lot of pressure around that. So with that kind of capacity, the religious leaders are able to help. So what are some of the interventions that we have been able to engage religious leaders in? Well, we have been able to engage religious leaders in a national dialogue in Nairobi, where key religious leaders came and affirmed their voice in addressing child marriage and FGM. And ultimately, there was a commitment by religious leaders from various religions. You can call it, you can say Muslims were there. There were Christian from various denominations as well. So they all together committed to work together in addressing issues of child marriage and FGM, and ensure that they cascade that commitment to the local level. So the question is, how have they cascaded this national level commitment they made in Nairobi to the local level? One is that they have been supporting dialogues at the local level. And these dialogues, interestingly, was not just external with the community, but was also internal. There is a certain denomination in West Pokot. I'm not sure if we have a member attending this meeting today. It's called Dini ya Roho Mafuta Pole. Now, this denomination was initially supporting FGM, and probably it's not only this denomination that supports FGM and child marriage. There are probably others. So what we did is that we had to do an internal dialogue with the leadership of this denomination so that they first appreciate the ills that are brought about by child marriage and FGM. And when I mentioned the two, we all know the kind of relation that exists, as it was mentioned earlier. So for them appreciating that, then they started even telling others when they come to the church. So the other thing that we have also been able to do is to encourage and have the religious leaders, when they are on the pulpit and on Friday, when they are having those discussions, the mosque, they can make pronouncements that child marriage and FGM are negatively affecting women and girls in the community. Now, after the training of COH, Channels of Hope, there is something that the religious leaders are supposed to do. They're supposed to prepare what called Congregation Hope Action Team. And this is just a framework that helps them to be able to lay a plan of what exactly they are supposed to do. And most of the ones that you have trained, they have developed an action plan, which includes sensitizing the community on the negative effects of child marriage and FGM, and also monitor girls who are at risk, and also report on incidences and likelihood of incidences of child marriage and FGM. So that comes with mapping. So the religious leaders have been able to map the households that are at risk, or that have girls who are vulnerable, or women who are vulnerable to FGM and girls who are vulnerable to child marriage. And for example, in Baringo, Narok, and the West Pokot, the religious leaders within these counties, they have been able to map 360 households, which they have not only sensitized through home visitation, but they have also identified the ones that girls are at risk, and have been following up to ensure that the girls don't go through the ills. And also during this home visit, there is also sensitization about COVID-19 measures. Now, I can give one of the comment here. One family that was visited by religious leaders said that this visitation was very informative, and I commit to ensure that nothing will stop my two girls from achieving their dreams, and I will support others not to undergo FGM or be married off. Cutting girls' practice has no place in the modern society, as you have been told today. Hence, no one should subject their girls to the practice, and mine will not go through the practice. So that was a man called Lekaton from Narok. Now, we have also been able to engage the religious leaders in radio talk shows. And this has been very effective, especially in reaching communities that we are not able to reach through dialogues. We all understand that some areas are too much far-flung for reach, and some of the areas have insecurity issues that limits our reach to those areas. So radio talk shows have been able to help us be able to reach those communities, and for them to continue with the dialogue about FGM and also understand what the negatives is about it. And interestingly, there are some girls who have reported their vulnerability to FGM and child marriage. And in West Pokot and Samburu, 27 girls who reported FGM-related cases during a radio talk show were able to be supported. So you can see the value of engaging these religious leaders, because people feel more comfortable engaging religious leaders, and through that the girls were able to be helped. Now, in conclusion, there are still areas of growth in engaging religious leaders. Now, when you engage the Muslim community, even during the national dialogue when you're having with the religious leaders, we realize that there are still some scholars who feel that they are still value of girls still going through FGM and consequently child marriage. So there's still a need for us to continuously engage religious leaders in reflection to the value they have in the society and the community. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, George. Thank you. And very deep conversation there. We, as Chinua Achebe said, religion is the opium of the people. And when you attack the opium of a people, that is what, or maybe when you question the opium of a people, and that is how they get high, then this is a very challenging, intricate process to take up, and I affirm the work that you're doing. I would just like to know a little bit more about how receptive they are, or whether you're facing challenges when you are approaching the religious leaders, because obviously they have such a huge influence on the masses. They can sway things to the right or sway things to the left. So I mean, it's interesting and it's important that we really take that into consideration. We have about 10 minutes to relate before you respond, George. But just before you respond, I want to call Caroline of Equality Now and give her 2 minutes to just wrap up something that she was presenting for us before we broke. Caroline, you have 2 minutes to just wrap up, and then I go back again to George and the other panelists who have come up. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm able to be seen properly.
Yes, I can see you, my dear.
Okay, thank you so much. So I had done I have presented on some of the critical success factors. I just wanted to mention some of the challenges that we've observed working with the court users committee, and also training in general actors in the justice sector. So, for example, with the gender desk officers, I don't know if you've worked with them before. If you've ever attended a training with them, you'd notice that I'm sure you've observed that there's a difference in knowledge in terms of how they should be performing their work. For example, collection of evidence, what kind of information is required to be in the police file, how to handle victims. So this difference of knowledge is something that, as you continue working with them, you build their knowledge, you fill in that gap, and then after some time they are transferred. So now the person who replaces them comes in, they don't have the same knowledge that the person that has been transferred had. So you now work towards ensuring that they are fully capacitated to be able to perform their work efficiently. And then after some time again, they now start doing their work properly, and then they're transferred. So that's a challenge we have, that the people we invest in and we train after some time are transferred, and they're not even transferred to the position of a gender desk officer. So they might be sent to traffic. So that's a loss completely. And then something else is that in general, people don't link the different issues relating to gender-based violence. For example, you'll see police officers or even prosecutors are not able to link some of the cases that are brought as defilement to child marriage, or even some of the cases that are being brought as defilement to FGM, because the medical examiners did not record this in the PRC form. And then another challenge was, of course, medical examiners, because we are not involving them a lot in our interventions. Most of them do not know how to fill in the P3 forms. So this is something we encountered, especially in Kwale County. Medical examiners used to avoid filling in the P3 form because they do know how to fill it. And then again, PRC forms, which of course is related to defilement and rape and sexual violence cases, which in most cases is what FGM and child marriage is prosecuted in court for. It was not available to survivors. So that is a crucial piece of evidence that is not going to be submitted in court, which means then that especially for cases of child marriage, stroke defilement, which of course I'm acknowledging is wrong, to prosecute cases of child marriage as only defilement. So in cases of child marriage, stroke defilement, the only evidence that police officers will end up relying on is if the child is pregnant, then we can do a DNA test. But if the child is not pregnant, then the case will end up staying for so long in court. So that's one of the challenges. So in terms of partnerships, we are hoping that as CSOs, someone actually talked about developing work plans, but I'm challenging us to move beyond developing work plans together, because this is something that happens, especially in the counties. We develop work plans within the court users committee, within the gender sector working groups. But when it comes to implementation, that's a whole different issue. People are not available, especially where funds are related. So I would urge us to, whatever resources we can pull or whatever effort you could pull, let's pull that together so that we can work together. If, for example, your organization cannot offer any funding, but you have a space in your office, then you can offer that space for the meetings, for meetings of CSOs or state actors or even court users committee, gender sector working group. You can offer that space for meetings. If your organization does not have the money to facilitate any meeting, but you can allow your employees to attend this meeting, then you can even give them fare to attend this meeting in case transport allowance is not offered. So we cannot say that CSOs do not have anything to offer completely, where, especially with regards to resources, there's something within your reach that you can offer towards ensuring that we collaborate better and our collaboration is of quality, and that we are able to move towards elimination of child marriage and also FGM. Thank you so much, Mildred.
Thank you, Caroline. Very important points there on the processes of prosecution or seeking justice, because often I think on the ground we feel we have done enough to try and maybe arrest or deter the perpetrators, but then we don't know how to move the next step of, seeking justice and everything. I think that is a very important point, and really emphasis on collaborations through different stakeholders. Now, when I open this space for the next 7-10 minutes of interactions, I am thinking, and as you are speaking, Caroline, I'm asking myself, we have all the different stakeholders in this room. We have all the different stakeholders in this room. What is stopping this forum from creating or sitting together or strategizing on some sort of value chain? When you're in food production, and you will understand this. I hope George Ndungu would understand what I'm saying, because then you're putting a value chain that the process begins here, and after here we connect it here, after here we connect it here, until we end to the point where we are hitting zero. What would stop this forum, this consultative meeting, from coming up with an end FGM CM value process towards point zero. I'll open up the floor for discussions. Please put your hands up. I see Migori's hands up. Migori, do you want to join in now for an intervention? Put your hand up, please, if you need to say something. But for me, I've thrown the question over to you, all of you, as stakeholders, as very critical links to ending FGM CM. What is stopping us from putting together what we can call a value chain, for lack of a better word, a value chain or a value process or a critical path that connects each one of us and the different aspects we bring into the table? Migori, can we have Migori come up? There was a hand up from Migori. If not, I will pick out people to just, Jane Onyango Odongo of Polycom. My question to you directly, Jane, what is stopping this forum from structuring around putting together a value chain that is intertwined? So you can't be a weak link. You know, in the value chain, when you're the weak link, you mess it all up. What is stopping us from getting there? Because we have it from the ground, right up to the legal, right up to the policy formulation and implementation. So what is stopping this forum from setting it up?
Thank you so much, Mildred.
Yes, Jane. Put on your camera, we need to see you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Jane.
Here I am.
Please, yes, there.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
what I can say is that nothing is stopping us because we already want to do it. What we can do is that let us accept that we have different structures that can contribute to what we want, and let us not work with the beneficiary, can I call it sponsor, or can I call it, you know, those, can I call them hierarchies that stop us from harvesting from every potential that we have around us. So let us listen to everybody. Let us listen to those who are on the ground. Let us listen to Kibera. Let us listen to everybody. Let us listen to equality now and everybody, just everybody, and make sure that we are all bringing something to the table and we have that all-round approach that will get us where we are going to. Thank you.
Yes, Jane, but are we able to create a critical path from this particular forum? I'm trying to be very pragmatic and pushing an action point out of this forum that we come from diverse, vibrant approaches and interventions that when put together, it brings in the richness of how we can achieve that zero, which Dr. Powell talked about in the morning. What is stopping us? And you know, from the morning we lamented about people working in silos, working separately, yet we are pursuing the same goal. Why can't we collaborate? So what is stopping us, Jane? Or is it a pipe dream to imagine that?
Nothing is stopping us going forward. Nothing is stopping us going forward if we want to. That is what I can say. If we really want to, then we can do it. Nothing is stopping us.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. I wanted that positivity. I wanted that. Our Migori team, I'm told you already. Who's coming up for Migori?
Hello, Sami Marwa.
Sami, my screen is blank. I can't see you.
Can
there
you
are.
now?
I can see you. Yes,
Yeah.
Sami.
So,
okay. Yeah. All right.
I want to respond to that question. As for me, I feel like we have what it needs to go on with this campaign, and I believe we will win. But still, we cannot ignore the political factor. For instance, when Kilimo was speaking, she said that we have some reasons, we have some hardness or some challenges when it comes to our political leaders. So she said that there are resources which are meant to fight the campaign, which are meant to boost the campaign against FGM and child marriage, and they are sent to the county, which should go to the grassroots. So I believe we have what it takes, but now we should also make sure that these resources are well utilized, and the national government should make a follow-up so that these resources should reach those who are pushing against these vices. So I believe when we tackle the political the political challenge, then we will be way in a better position, because when we decide to ignore it for the sake where she said that some politicians are avoiding to fight it because they are afraid of losing votes, then I believe it will be way hard. So I believe we have to look at this challenge away from the political reasons and find a way in which we can join our politicians and let them help us in fighting this vice. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. I like how you're thinking, but I have another question I'll throw at you, that sometimes we can't wait for the politicians. Yes. Our girls are still dying. FGM is killing them. They're still being married off. And maybe politics is taking too long. What do we do? Because if we say we have to, sometimes we can't wait. And we are always saying girls' lives can't wait. Women's lives can't wait. We have to come in now. So then we have the human resource on the ground, and the human resource is teams like you. We
do so, then we will make a difference.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Keep that focus. Keep that focus. We need that kind of drive. We need that kind of motivation, but we need to do it so that we may save the 23. Remember the 23 per minute. We have to cut down that number. But thank you very much for your.
Thank you.
I think we have lost Mildred, but she had told me to take over now. Mildred, are you back?
I'm back. I had conversations from Migori. There's a young lady there from Migori who wants to jump in very quickly. And then Jen, you can come back for the group after I give a very quick brief of what the group discussions will be about. So this young lady coming in, please introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Boke Christine from Migori, youth activist. Maybe to add on what my colleague has said, apart from the political ground part of it, I believe we have the Kenyan Constitution, which will help us. When we know what the Constitution says, it's so automatic that we will know our rights. And by so doing, I believe these young girls and women will be helped in one way or the other, because our constitution is very open. We are living in a very democratic country. And by so doing, even without the politicians, I believe we will be helped.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Christine Boke. We have one more from Migori. Yes.
According to me, I think I had said my name, I'm Omahe Mwita. My contribution on your question is that we lack youth representation. As for example, if I can say now, there is a steering committee that is going on in Migori town for FGM. I think it is now on. And when I can be able to see I've just gone through the picture in Twitter that they have posted, none of them is a youth for those people that are there. And mostly I can say that specifically in Migori County, let me now based in Migori County where we have the steering committee for FGM. And you will find it that maybe when you go for a meeting, maybe the meeting have been called, mostly it's usually being called through phone call, because it depends how you are known by the person who is organizing the meeting. So when you appear there, you'll find that the meeting, they're using a specific language because maybe they will like to hide something that you are not getting. So, and whereby you find that when you go to that meeting, you will find most of them are just older men and women, like the activist from South Africa, who is also the presidential candidate, Julius Malema, said that UN is made up of all people. So is, for example, in Migori County that we are experiencing now in FGM board, whereby no youth inclusivity. We don't have the representation of youths. And that's the main thing that is killing us. Like with the Kurial, we are not involved because we are in Migori County, we are the hotspot of both child marriage and FGM. But how do you think that you bring in somebody from outside without any representation from the ground, and then now pretend to tell you that he's going against something, and maybe you have got to know somebody who is there to link you with the community. And because when you have somebody who is ready to link you with the community, is the one to explain to the community that this is the effect of this harmful norm. So I think that one you should say that youth representation is our problem, main problem that's affecting us. We
Thank
as the
you.
community that we are in Migori.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What we are glad about is that we have youths like yourselves already mobilizing to speak out, but of course you bring out a very valid point. And the one point I want to bring out, please, ladies and gentlemen, may we address each other in the right title and acknowledge the titles as prescribed, especially for our women leading different platforms. One of the things that has pulled back our efforts in women's emancipation is the looking off or away from titles. Honorable Kilimo is Honorable Dr. Kilimo. Dr. Beth Kangwana is Dr. Beth Kangwana. So please let us actually retain that, because when it comes to gentlemen, we hardly have an issue. But when I need to reaffirm Honorable Kilimo's space as a dignified member of parliament, then I drop the title. Please let us just keep that in mind, because we know as women, these are the battles that we have fought for a long time. Now, I would like us to move with all those presentations, all those contributions being brought. We really appreciate it and it's important. But now we have to move into our world cafes, into our 3 world cafes, where we are going to have 3 roundtable conversations chaired by community-based organizations that are representing different areas of what we are working on. I know that Mtoto News is going to break us into 3 rooms, room 1, room 2, room 3. These 3 rooms are going to be managed by room 1 by Msichana Empowerment, Kuria District. Natalie Robitingo will be actually in charge of room 1. Room 2 will be Jane Anyango of Polycom Development Trust, managing room 2. And then Dr. Josephine Kulea will be in room 3. But so before we break, and this session, we are going to give 30 minutes to this session, may I call on Jenny from Total News to just guide us through how we are going to be split into the 3 rooms. Welcome, Jenny.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Mildred, for a wonderful morning session. So we are giving you an opportunity to choose. Just give me a second. So you are going to choose the group that you are going to join in. So if you want room 1, please click on room 1. If you want room 2, you're going to choose room 2. Or if you want room 3, you go choose room 3. And you go there, your facilitators will be there waiting for you. Okay, also, let me repeat, we'll be recording the rooms, but will not be live streaming. So unfortunately, for those who are watching us on Facebook and on YouTube, if you want, please do send a message and we can send you a link to join in. In the Zoom call. So we are not going to be live streaming the breakaway sessions. So for now, I am going to start the room. So I'm going to give you a minute to look at the room and start and decide. So we are not deciding it for you. You're going to decide which room you're going to join. I hope we are going to be equal. We are about 40 of us. I'm hoping all of us can be able to join in. So starting the groups right now.
Jenny, the group leaders will present immediately after. They had brief presentations to give. They will present immediately after, the 3 group leaders. Thank you. Thank you.
Please join the group. I can see people still who have not joined.
Jenny, please take us through again how to join.
We all want to live in a better world, right? To see real change with equality for all. We've made progress, but change needs to happen fast enough. We are leaving behind too many women and girls. We are leaving behind too many child brides.
The Joint General Comment is an articulation which was provided by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and the Committee of Experts. And they really defined critical interpretation around child marriage and which our member states have to follow. First, in the Joint General Comment, and which I fully support, is that the age of marriage without exception is 18.
The General Comment, therefore, has a very wide scope. It includes not only girls who are already involved in child marriage, but those who are at risk of child marriage, and even adults, women who are today adults but who were married at the age of below 18.
We know, and as has been published, including by the UN and by the African Union, that we have the highest prevalence of child marriage in Africa, where more than 12 million girls are married each year globally, and the highest numbers are in Africa. In West Africa, we have countries like Niger, like Burkina Faso, where over 65% of girls are married under the age of 18. Here in Southern Africa, we have countries like Malawi, where 42% are married under the age of 18. Here in my country, in Zimbabwe, it's over 30%.
In 2014, the African Union launched a campaign to end child marriages on the African continent. And in the same year, in July of the same year, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights then passed Resolution 292, which was a resolution commission mandating the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa to commission a 10-country study to assess the prevalence of child marriages on the African continent, as well as to assess the legislative provisions that were in place in different countries to protect the rights of children from child marriages. In that resolution, the African Commission mandated the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa to work with the Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child in developing this general comment, and also to work with the Center for Human Rights at the University of Pretoria, providing technical support in the research work.
When it comes to women's rights organizations, it's such a powerful tool because they can use it for advocacy, to teach other human rights-based organizations, to teach even their national governments on what it entails and why there is a need to ensure that the Maputo Protocol is domesticated for those who have ratified and for ratification for the countries which are yet to ratify.
Africa has some of the most progressive policies for ending early child and forced marriages, such as the Maputo Protocol and the African Children's Charter.
التغيير الحصل أو الحصل على المرأة والطفل في السودان بعد توقيع موبوتو فتح مساحة كبيرة جدا للمشاركة للمرأة في كل المجالات ومنها المجال السياسي.
We really expect that these African human rights systems is able to operate without any interference, so that the rights of women can be progressive in our countries. The rights of the girl child are also, upheld, so that women and girls can participate in the social structure of their countries without any hindrances.
Now that we have the joint general comment on ending child marriages, I think it is important for the African Commission as well to work hand in glove with the committee to ensure that state parties to both the African Children's Charter and the Maputo Protocol starts the important work of harmonizing their laws to ensure that marriages take place with adults above the age of 18.
When I was 12 years, mama vakashaya ne 12 years kudaro ndakasara nevanhu vaindichengeta havana kukwanisa kuda kuti ndienderere mberi nechikoro, saka nekudaro ndakafunga kuti solution pane zvandikuita izvi kuchikoro ndatadza kuenda panapa upenyu hwandikurarama hwakaoma kurohwa ndane 15 years
ndichiri mwana chaiye. Ndapinda mumba ndine makore anoita 16. Ndakasangana nematambudziko akawandisa sezvo ndiri mwana mudiki. Ndakasangana nematambudziko ekurohwa, ndakasangana nematambudziko ekutukwa. Zvairema, zvairwadza nokuti ndichiri mwana mudiki. Saka ndototenda nekuzointroducwa kwaitwa RMT, Rosaria Memorial Trust, muno munharaunda. Takazotorwawo madzimai echidiki kusanganisirawo inini, tikapinzwawo munhanga. Hurumende dzemuno muAfrica dzese dzabatana. Vana vasikana vasimudzirwa, vapedza dzidzo yavo kusvika kuyunivhesiti chaiko, ende vapfuurawo pamakore avo 18 years. Vanofanira kupfuura varambe vachimboenderera mberi nedzidzo.
Being deliberate, grounded, and guided by collective action is the only way to deliver for women and girls affected by violations such as early child and forced marriages.
My destiny is bright. I choose to get out of the dark. I will defend my right from now onwards. It's a new dawn for children. Arise and shine.
Kwa utaingiana katika mila yetu ya Kisamburu, msichana anapitia mambo nyingi sana, kama kukeketwa, msichana kutokubaliwa asome, ndoa ya mapema. Nikaamua kuingia mistari ya kwanza kuwasaidia. Kwa mbele hatukuwa na watu wanatusupport kuambia hii kitu ni mbaya. Sasa wakati Amref imekuja imeleta ya project, tukapelekwa semina, tukafunzwa, tukaona kweli hii kitu ni mbaya, kwa maana kenye unatufunza ni kenye tumepitia. Kwa maana wakati tumekeketwa unapata shida nyingi sana, mpaka unapata ushungu ambaye utawahi kusahau maisha yako. So wakati walijitokeza, tukaamua kwenda machinani kufunza wasichana yetu na kufunza community. Mara ya kwanza ilikuwa ngumu, hawakuwa wanataka, wase hawakuwa wanataka. Kwa utaingiana wakaleta madialogue, wakaengage wase, wakaengage vijana, wasichana wote njana. Kwanza kwa Kisamburi kuna jina mzuri inaitwa Tunu Mairoro, njooni tusungumse. So ukienda unaambia wase project hii inaitwa Tunu Mairoro, njooni tusungumse. Sasa wakisikia hiyo wanakaa chini, tunaongea, unaambia mpaka wanapenda, kwa maana hata jina peke yake ni mzuri. Come let us talk. Kama mimi nikisimama kuongea ninaambia ubaya FGM venye mimi nilipitia. Samani unakuta msichana mdogo anaolewa na mzee ya 50 years ama 60. Anaenda kwa bibi ya 6, 4, 3. Dream yangu ni mwaka sijaso 2 ama 3. Samburu, msichana Msamburu, mama Msamburu, tutakuwa tumebadilika sana. Kwa maana wasichana wetu watafika kiwango ile wasichana wengine wamefikia, wale wako huko juu huko. Mungu bariki Amref, wameleta mabadiliko kuletea mtoto msichana Msamburu. Kwa majina ninaitwa Esther. Mimi ni champion ya
We all want to live in a better world, right? To see real change with equality for all. We've made progress, but change needs to happen fast enough. We are leaving behind too many women and girls. We are leaving behind too many child brides.
The joint general comment is an articulation which was provided by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and the Committee of Experts. And they really defined critical interpretation around child marriage, in which our member states have to follow. First, in the joint general comment, and which I fully support, is that the age of marriage without exception is 18.
The general comment, therefore, has a very wide scope. It includes not only girls who are already involved in child marriage, but those who are at risk of child marriage, and even adults, women who are today adults but who were married at the age of below 18.
We know, and as has been published, including by the UN and by the African Union, that we have the highest prevalence of child marriage in Africa, where more than 12 million girls are married each year globally, and the highest numbers are in Africa. In West Africa, we have countries like Niger, like Burkina Faso, where over 65% of girls are married under the age of 18. Here in Southern Africa, we have countries like Malawi, where 42% are married under the age of 18. Here in my country, in Zimbabwe, it's over 30%.
In 2014, the African Union launched a campaign to end child marriages on the African continent. And in the same year, in July of the same year, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights then passed Resolution 292, which was a resolution commission mandating the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa to commission a 10-country study to assess the prevalence of child marriages on the African continent, as well as to assess the legislative provisions that were in place in different countries to protect the rights of children from child marriages. In that resolution, the African Commission mandated the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa to work with the Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child in developing this general comment, and also
that these African human rights systems is able to operate without any interference, so that the rights of women can be progressive in our countries. The rights of the girl child are also, upheld, so that women and girls can participate in the social structure of their countries without any hindrances.
Now that we have the joint general comment on ending child marriages, I think it is important for the African Commission as well to work hand in glove with the committee to ensure that state parties to both the African Children's Charter and the Maputo Protocol start the important work of harmonizing their laws to ensure that marriages take place with adults above the age of 18.
When I was 12 years, mama vakashaya ne 12 years kudaro ndakasara nevanhu vaindichengeta havana kukwanisa kuda kuti ndienderere mberi nechikoro, saka nekudaro ndakafunga kuti solution pane zvandiri kuita izvi kuchikoro ndatadza kuenda panapa upenyu hwandinorarama hwakakurora. Ndane 15 years.
Ndichiri mwana chaiye, ndapinda mumba ndine makore anoita 16. Ndakasangana nematambudziko akawandisa sezvo ndiri mwana mudiki. Ndakasangana nematambudziko ekurohwa, ndakasangana nematambudziko ekutukwa. Zvairema, zvairwadza nokuti ndichiri mwana mudiki. Saka ndinototenda nekuzointroducwa kwaitwa RMT, Rosaria Memorial Trust, muno munharaunda. Takazotorwawo madzimai echidiki kusanganisirawo ini, tikapinzwawo munhanga. Hurumende dzemuno muAfrica dzese dzabatana. Vana vasikana vasimudzirwa, vapedza dzidzo yavo kusvika kuyunivhesiti chaiko, ende vapfuurawo pamakore avo 18 years. Vanofanira kupfuura varambe vachingoenderera mberi nedzidzo.
Being deliberate, grounded, and guided by collective action is the only way to deliver for women and girls affected by violations such as early child and forced marriages.
My destiny is bright. I choose to get out of the dark. I will defend my right from now onwards. It's a new dawn for children. Arise and shine.
Like so many people in the world, I knew what child marriage is, but not much more. But then I started looking a bit into the issue, and I had no clue how enormously big this problem is.
Child marriage violates her rights to a life free of violence and a life of choice. It deprives her of her childhood. By addressing child marriage, we are protecting universal human rights.
If you tackle child marriage, you are looking at the cause of maternal and child deaths, you are looking at the cause of diminishing developmental activities in the country. You are looking at the cause of gender-based violence. You are looking at the cause of sexual and reproductive health issues.
This is the issue all over the world. So if we want to stop child marriage, then we need to work in a movement. We need a kind of campaign from everywhere.
We provide a platform for these different organizations that are doing this amazing work on the ground to learn from each other, to share experiences with each other, and actually do their work better.
These partnerships help us learn
what is actually working in India, how can we replicate it in Afghanistan, how can we replicate it in Bangladesh and Nepal. One organization cannot make much more difference, but when 10 organizations come together, they are more powerful.
The goal of Girls Not Brides is very simple. We want to end child marriage in one generation.
All of us together as a collective entity will solve this problem.
I am as committed to ending child marriage as I was committed to ending apartheid. And we will have a wonderful world when we have women who have been able to become anything they want to become.
I dropped out of school because of different challenges. And during that period, I got pregnant at a very young age. Society and friends rejected me.
The broken innocence of a child bearing a child and walking through the journey of parenting shifts the right of a girl child enjoying their childhood, most especially with the glaring magnitude of the responsibilities. Statistics on teenage pregnancies in Africa are alarming. Sub-Saharan Africa in particular is reported to have the highest number with over 90% of teen pregnancies. An estimated 21 million girls aged 15 to 19 years in developing regions become pregnant, and approximately 12 million of them give birth.
Teenage pregnancy is a challenge that has lived with us for quite some time, but in the recent past, it has been a challenge that is so alarming. Well, to say it's unfortunate, to see what our girls are going through, with a very big number of them forced to drop out of school, but also many of them losing their lives, others getting so disadvantaged in the community because of the situation.
Well, I entered into a relationship totally disregarding parental advice because I wanted to have access to some basic needs that were lacking in my parents' house. But after falling pregnant, I realized my parents wished me well because the problems just got worse.
La principale cause chez les filles adolescentes, c'est à cause des mauvaises compagnies. Genre, comme je suis comme une autre fille, elle s'habille mal et puis elle gagne l'argent. Toi aussi, tu veux imiter pour faire. Si tu fais et puis tu te protèges pas, genre, tu fais des rapports sexuels sans te protéger, tu tombes enceinte et puis ça devient des grossesses indésirées. Si l'homme dit qu'il veut pas, donc à toi le problème maintenant, tu sais pas quoi faire.
The rate at which our girls are becoming mothers is alarming. It is worrying. Many girls have been dropped out of school because of the same problem. The challenge is quite significant. It has been a challenge for a while. Actually, we have grappled with it for a long time.
Many of the girls in Africa come from the rural area. They are from socio-economic low backgrounds. And because of that, many of them are lured into situations that lead to pregnancies. If I can mention the girls that are going to school, they are going to school, they don't have the basic requirements. They are not sure of the next meal after school. And because of that, those that have, and these are mainly men, take advantage of them and they end up into pregnancies in the process. Not that they really want it, but conditions push them into that.
It is sad and heartbreaking that most girls are not in a position to bring sound upbringing to the child. The innocence of these young girls has been violated, swaying up mental health issues. The high rate of adolescent pregnancies is due primarily to the inaccessibility of services such as lack of sexual reproductive health, education among teenagers, lack of safe spaces, poverty, illiteracy, socio-cultural norms, and traditions.
The importance of children learning about sexual and reproductive health is